All right, so we will begin with the practice as we usually do, and tonight I turned the camera on early because I realized that of the people who listen to these videos or watch these videos, I'm talking about meditation all the time, but I haven't said anything to this audience about how to practice meditation, which seems ridiculous in a way. So I'm doing that now. This is the technique that I speak of when I talk about meditation. First of all, I would recommend that if you can do the practice sitting on the floor on a cushion and a mat, that's the ideal, in my opinion. That's the ideal way to practice for a number of different reasons. But it doesn't mean that you can't practice meditation if you can't sit on the floor on a cushion. In fact, you can practice meditation anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances. The formal practice of meditation is a different subject, and for the formal practice of meditation, we either recommend that you do it on a cushion, on a mat, on the floor, or you do it sitting in a chair. And sitting in a chair is kind of the Western tendency or the Western way of doing it for the most part for most people, so that's fine. If you're sitting in a chair, you want to have your feet flat on the floor, and you want to take a few moments before you actually start the formal practice to just sit quietly and allow your mind to slow down. Allow the thinking activity to slow down a little bit, because the thought process has a momentum to it. And so we want to interrupt that and just sit still for a few moments, becoming aware of the body. And the practice that we're doing, the practice of meditation, is really one of the ways to talk about it is to say we're practicing being in balance. And this being in balance involves the posture, how we're sitting in a balanced way. And so with your feet flat on the floor, you want to have your back straight. If you're sitting in a chair, you might put a pillow behind the base of your back to give you some support of your lower back, and that will help to move your belly a little bit forward. And you want to sit in a way that you can experience that your back is straight and you're sitting like a stack of coins, with your head slightly retracted so the back of your head is aligned with the spine. This is really critical in terms of the fact that it allows energy to move freely through the body while we're sitting here. And then becoming aware of the body, you want to take a few moments to just notice the body. Notice any tension or aches or restlessness in the body. Don't do anything with it, just notice it. The body knows how to relax. And just have it be your intention to let the body relax. Let the body do what it knows how to do. So we're allowing the body to relax, and we're feeling the weight of the body drop into the seat. So we're not holding the weight of the body up. We're allowing the weight of the body to drop into the seat so we can feel the buttocks touching the seat. And then with the hands, what I recommend is to use what's called the Cosmic Mudra. And I do recommend that you use this because it's part of being in balance. It's another way to have the position of the body or the posture of the body be in balance. And so the Cosmic Mudra means that you take your right hand, you let your left palm rest in your right hand, and then you touch the fingers gently to make a circle, and you just let that rest in your lap. This will help to maintain a balanced posture because the way you're holding your hands in this mudra is balanced. Your hands are balanced. So that's the hands. And then we want to start to be aware of the breath. Be aware of the body breathing. And the way I like to say it is not be aware of your breath or be aware of you breathing, because part of the teachings is that we are not the body, it's the body that's breathing. And so when we're practicing, we're aware of the body breathing. We're looking at the body breathe. We pay attention to the body breathing at the belly. About an inch and a half below the belly is the Dantian, or the hara. It's the center of energy, center of the chi, the vital force in the body. So we're paying attention to that center. So now we have a horizontal balance, the center of the body horizontally, and the mudra, the way we're holding our hands, is a vertical balance. So we have a vertical and a horizontal balance. And then we want to sit in a way that we can let the body fully relax, not holding the weight up, let the shoulders drop. And we want to maintain this posture during the entire practice session, which means to remain aware of the body. If your head goes down or goes back, or you start to lean in any direction, you want to be aware of that so that you can make these minor adjustments as you're sitting in meditation. If the hands come out of the balanced mudra, then make that adjustment. It's no different than making the adjustment if you find that you're falling asleep during the practice. You make the adjustment, you come back, remaining alert and awake. And so we follow the breath at the belly. And when we follow the breath at the belly, the natural way to breathe is when we inhale, the belly expands, and when you exhale, the belly contracts. And so we're breathing this way, we're allowing the breath to breathe this way, in which when we inhale, the belly expands, and when we exhale, the belly contracts. And so we maintain attention at the belly, following the breath, allowing us to watch the body breathe. And then, of course, while we're doing that, thoughts will occur that pull attention back to the thinking activity. This is natural. This is the habit of thinking all the time, depending on thinking. And so as soon as you're aware that you're back into thinking, just bring the focus of attention back to the belly. And during the practice session, you will go back and forth. Inevitably, thinking will continue to pull your attention away from the focus of attention on the belly. As soon as you're aware of that, bring it back to the belly. You're practicing maintaining an awake state, maintaining a state of attention, being attentive. That's part of the practice, is staying awake, being attentive. And then another part of the practice is to experience being out of the thought activity. When we're paying attention to the body breathing, the possibility of noticing our true nature as awareness itself becomes more probable because the interference of thinking is not in the way. Even if you just recognize the awareness, aware of the body breathing momentarily, this is still making contact. And part of the practice of being in this posture and practicing meditation is to practice being in balance. What does that mean? It means to have the mind and the body come into balance, have the sympathetic and asympathetic nervous system come into balance by having the mind be calm and the body relaxed, so that when the autonomic nervous system comes into balance, we experience a state of equanimity, a balance, of evenness. And you want to experience this state of balance. You want to be aware of this state of balance as you sit. It may not happen in the beginning, it may take a while, but at some point you'll feel it when it begins to occur. It's a felt sense of balance. It'll occur like a sense of calm, a sense of peace, a sense of contentment, a sense of being at home in your life and in your body. So this is the basic posture, the basic technique of the practice of Zazen, which simply means meditation. So when we practice here in the class, we begin the practice by my ringing a bell. During the time of the practice, if you have any extraneous noise in the environment going on, just allow it to be there. Don't pay attention to it. Don't log on. Stay in the awareness of the body breathing. Stay in the posture. Stay in the form of balance. And remember, this is a practice. Whatever happens during the time of the practice is perfect. Part of what we're practicing during the time of the official practice is to allow everything to be as it is. Let the mind be calm and the body relax so that you can experience balance. So I'll ring a bell to begin the practice session. I'll keep track of the time so you don't have to be concerned about time. Just be aware of the present moment. And then I'll ring 3 bells at the end of the practice session. So I've been talking about balance recently. And the reason I've been talking about balance recently is because it came to my attention when I was listening to Brad Werner, my Dharma buddy on YouTube, and he was talking about his teacher, the Zen master Nitsujimi Roshi. And he mentioned a number of different times that his teacher spoke often about balance, and spoke about balance as a way of understanding what we're doing when we're practicing meditation. Not only what we're doing when we're practicing meditation, but the idea of being in balance is equal to the idea of equanimity. And equanimity is considered a state of enlightenment, a state of well-being, a state of clarity. So I picked up a book of Nitsujimi Roshi's teaching, a talk on pursuing the truth. And I thought I'd share a little bit of it with you so you could see if I could communicate about why this understanding of balance is useful in practicing meditation. What then are the underlying physical factors that correspond to the active and passive tendencies in human beings? This is Nitsujimi Roshi's talk. He's speaking. My own theory is that in physical terms, the state of natural balance refers to the balance of our autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system has 2 parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. These 2 systems work together to regulate the activity of the organs and systems of the body. The interesting thing about the action of the 2 sides of the autonomic nervous system is that their effects are opposite. In some cases, the sympathetic system increases the activity of an organ or system, while the parasympathetic nervous system suppresses the same activity. In other cases, the effects are reversed. However, a high level of sympathetic nervous activity creates a state of tension in the body and mind, and a high level of parasympathetic nervous activity has the opposite effect. So the actions and reactions of the 2 parts of the autonomic nervous system are accompanied by corresponding shifts in our moods, emotions, and overall sense of well-being. When the 2 sides function harmoniously, a state of equilibrium or balance is maintained. At such times, we are usually healthy, relaxed, and alert. If we lose the balance between these 2 systems, we feel ill at ease, and our health may deteriorate. Unfortunately, most of us do not recognize the correlation between health, happiness, and the maintenance of the state of natural balance. But this simple fact was clearly recognized by Gautama Buddha. He saw that the body and mind are not two separate parts, but are actually one whole, and that the path to health and happiness is to be found in a practice which promotes a natural balance of our body and mind. This practice is Zazen, or meditation. He urged his disciples to maintain the state of natural balance in their day-to-day lives. To do so, he recommended that they practice Zazen meditation every day. This Dharma is abundantly present in each human being, but if we do not practice it, it does not manifest itself. And if we do not experience it, it cannot be realized. I think you can glean from what I just read there that what's being said here is that the practice of meditation is the practice of being in balance, right? It's a balance between the mind and the body, so that when the mind is calm and the body's relaxed and the nervous system is balanced, the sympathetic and sympathetic nervous system is balanced, there is a state of equilibrium, there's a state of balance that occurs there. And I encourage you, when you're practicing meditation, to see if you can refer to this concept of balance in terms of looking to feel a felt sense of balance when you're sitting in meditation. This is one of the reasons that the mudra is important, because the hands are in a balanced form in the mudra. It's one of the reasons that we're paying attention to the body breathing at the belly, and we're paying attention to an inch or an inch and a half or 2 inches below the belly, which is the center of energy, the chi in the body. Why the center? Because we're interested in balance, right? And what they're saying here is that once you establish a sense of it, once you kind of get a sense of it, then as you live your life and you're going through your day, you can begin to practice being attentive, which is equal to being awake, right? Being attentive, that in and of itself is a practice, to be attentive, to stay awake. To stay awake, meaning that when something goes off in your mind, when you go into an upset state, right, instead of being the upset, which is the way it's typically experienced for people, right, when anger comes, I am angry. That's being the upset. I am angry. I am angry and I speak from the anger, right? That's being the upset, right? But if you're practiced at paying attention and you're attentive, when the mind goes off into an angry state or a fearful state, right, you see it as the mind going off. You don't identify with it. It's not I am afraid, it's fear is here. It's not I am angry, it's anger has appeared. With that understanding and with that practice, right, it gives you the opportunity to bring the out of balance mind into balance. The first thing you have to do to be able to bring it into balance is to recognize when it's out of balance, right? And so if you practice recognizing when it's out of balance as you go through your day, then you can begin to learn how to bring it back into balance, right? And there are two things that are utilized to bring it back into balance, right? One is let go of the thought process, right? Stop relating to the thinking. See thinking as thinking, and therefore it need not mean anything. It need not be an accurate representation of anything. So you let go of the thinking, right? Say in the case of anger, you let go of the angry thoughts, okay? When you let go of the angry thoughts, the anger will start to calm down because it's feeding off the thoughts, see? So you let go of the angry thoughts, and then the other thing that you do is you start to be aware of the body breathing, right? When you're angry or fearful, the body's breath will be out of balance, right? When you're really scared, you hold your breath, that's out of balance. When you're really upset and angry, you start to hyperventilate, you're out of balance, right? So you let go of the thoughts, you become aware of the breath, and you start to pay attention to the breath and allow yourself to experience the breath going deeper, fuller, more complete, until it gets to a state of balance, right? When the inhale and exhale are in a balanced state, right? So you've let go of the thought, you brought the breath back to a balanced state, right? And you've come back into balance. Now look, what I just said that you can do to bring yourself back into balance when you're out of balance is meditation. Because what are you doing when you're practicing formal meditation? Moving your attention away from thinking, right? Letting go of thoughts, right? And doing what? Being aware of the body breathing. And when you're being aware of the body breathing and you're away from the thought process, the body starts going into a balanced state of breath, right? And you don't have the interference of the thought activity, right? And so the mind and the body come into a balanced state. And when you come into that balanced state, if you're attentive, you sense the difference. If you're paying attention during meditation, you can sense the difference. Something shifts and you feel a very calm, balanced state. A grounded state, a balanced state. It's a felt experience of being in balance. And when you experience this felt sense of being in balance, right? Don't go off. One thing that can happen when that happens, right, is you can go off into a daydream. You can go off into, because it feels good, right? You feel comfortable, right? And so you can go off. A lot of people who don't understand meditation and understand these teachings, when they feel that, they think, oh, that's an opportunity for me to be in my natural state, which is to be the awareness in self. And so I want to transcend everything and get high and be in this elevated state in which nothing matters anymore, and it's just like LSD, and it's just like good marijuana. You don't want to do that, right? That's a mistake. What you want to do is stay present. Stay present to the experience of balance. Don't go off, don't go away. Stay in the experience of balance, right? Let yourself savor it. Marinate in it. Mooji used to say that, marinate in the sense of yourself. Because when you're in that state of balance, you're experiencing enlightenment. You're experiencing a state of well-being. When two things are equal, what's in the middle is zero. Zero is nothing. Nothing is awareness, and awareness is what you are. Right? So you're experiencing reality when you experience that. You're experiencing the reality of what you are, and it's very important to allow yourself to marinate in that and to really, be clear about how this feels, because when you are in your life and you go into an out of balance state, right? First of all, you have to recognize it, right? And then secondly, you have to be able to come back to this felt sense of balance. And so it's so important to understand this felt sense of balance and to know that you can use this to practice in your everyday life, right? To be enlightened, to practice in your everyday life, to recognize when you go out of balance, recognize the thinking is distorted, right? So you're not identifying with that, right? And then allow yourself to become aware of the body breathing, and you will feel the calm start to, you'll feel the mind start to calm down, you'll feel the body to start to relax, and then it's safe to say something. Then it's safe to say something, because if you were to speak when you were in the angry state, you're going to cause trouble, right? Because you're going to act like somebody's chasing you with a knife, and that's not true, right? Especially with the people that you love that are close to you, they're going to be shocked and surprised when you react to them like they're holding a gun on you. And they will probably get pissed off about that too. How dare you act like I'm holding a gun on you, and now you're in a fight. Okay? So what we're up to here, this whole practice of meditation is a practice in which we want to experience our life in a balanced way, in an equal way, with equanimity, and we want to bring that balanced, calm state of mind and relaxed body into our life so we can enjoy being alive. When you're in that state, you're in a state of well-being, which means you're enjoying the experience of your existence, right? That's what they say in the Advaita Vedanta teachings, right? When they say Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, happiness. Recently I've heard the Swami that I listened to teaching the Advaita Vedanta, I can't say his name or I would. It's too long. I wish they would just call like Joe or something. Some of these names are like you have to go to school to pronounce the name. But anyway, in the Advaita Vedanta teachings, this Swami that does the teaching a lot of the time, he often, in the middle of doing a lecture, he'll often just say, Sat Chit Ananda. When they say Sat Chit Ananda, they don't mean three separate things, they mean one thing. Sat Chit Ananda, that's you. That's the self, Sat Chit Ananda, right? The self is the existence, the self is the consciousness, and the self is the happiness. It's not three things. When you're in a state of well-being, you're in a state of unity, right? Harmony, unity. equilibrium, not only harmony and unity within the mind-body, but harmony and unity in relationship to the world. So it's a notice thing. That's all. You just want to notice it, right? You want to notice the difference. You want to notice the difference, that I'm calm, nothing's going on, you know. If you practice this, you'll see what I'm talking about. You're calm, nothing's going on, right? It could just be that you're calm, nothing's going on, and you have a particular thought occur in your mind that disturbs you. A thought of something that happened in the past that's upsetting. A thought of something that might happen in the future that's upsetting. A thought about your own death that's upsetting, right? A thought about the condition of your body if you have an illness that it's upsetting. Right? There's all kinds of material that causes the mind to go off balance, right? So if you're paying attention, you notice that you go off balance, right? As soon as you notice you go off balance, what I'm talking about doesn't take much time at all. As soon as you notice you go off balance, right? You notice what the thinking was that was involved, right? You let that go and start to pay attention to the body breathing, right? And you could be doing something else. I'm not saying you have to stop what you're doing to do this. You could be in a conversation and do this. You could be driving your car and do this. You could be doing your work on a computer and do this, right? It doesn't require that you separate yourself from what you're doing, right? It just requires that you use your natural ability to be aware, right? Because remember one thing, when you're paying attention to the breath, when you're paying attention to the body breathing, the breath is an anchor to the present moment. That's why the breath is such a good thing to pay attention to, because it only happens in the present moment. So when you're paying attention to it, guess what? You're present. And being present is the solution to the suffering of life, right? Because almost all of what we suffer from isn't happening now, right? Almost all of what we suffer from is thinking about something that did happen or thinking about something that will happen. It's almost never what is happening. Right? And even if it is what's happening, right, and you have been practiced sufficiently to be present to what's happening, you can remain in a balanced state. That's the outcome of the practice. If you do the practice over time, eventually, no matter what happens, right, you can remain in an even, balanced state of equanimity. Yeah.
You know it's going to pass.
That's right. That's part of it. Part of it is you're practicing the truth. You're practicing the truth. And the truth is everything passes, right? Yeah, this too must pass, they say in Yiddish, right? Or all things must pass, George Harrison, right? It doesn't matter where you get it, it's all the same, yeah.
Inhaling and exhaling, is that sympathetic?
The balance of the inhaling and exhaling is the balance of the sympathetic and asympathetic.
I have read that when you exhale for a longer period, that stimulates sympathetic more.
Yeah,
Parasympathetic.
that's right.
I also read that if you breathe through your left nostril, that also stimulates the sympathetic versus parasympathetic.
Well, I don't know, I mean,
That was a book we read. Remember you read that book, right?
yeah.
It was really
Yeah, I don't, you know, there's, the whole breath thing is a whole science. The whole breath thing is a science that goes back to ancient Asia and everything. And there's all kinds of techniques of breathing, pranayama, and this, that, and the other thing. But what I understand that simplifies the whole thing, right, is the main thing you want to be aware of as far as the breath is concerned is that most of the time, most people are breathing shallow. We're not using the full capacity of our lungs, and that has an effect on our body. You're starving the body of oxygen by doing that, right? So it makes a lot of sense, you know, when I talk about breathing, if you start to pay attention to the breath, the natural state of breathing is to fulfill the belly and then the chest, right? And the inhale is shorter than the exhale. And the exhale, it takes a little longer, and you let the belly fully contract, right? And that's the natural way to breathe. Then you you apply it, you know. If you're scared, you go into practicing coming into balance. If you're angry, you practice coming into a balance, you know. If you're annoyed, if you're frustrated, you know, these are all states of imbalance, right? Most human beings live in an imbalanced state. Yeah, that's why they look forward to drugs. Because they live in an imbalanced state. And what they want is just to relax, for Christ's sake. I just want to relax. I can't relax. I have to take some pills. I have to smoke a joint. I have to drink to relax. See, what happens is people use substances, right, to try and balance. right? They use substances to try and get into a balanced state, right? And then they get involved in the substances and the altered states of the substances, and they not only get into a balanced state, they not only do they relax, right, but they get more than just relaxed, unable to drive a car, unable to talk very well, right, and all that.
And they get dependent.
And dependent, of course, you know. If you can't, what the natural state means is you don't need to depend on anything to be in a state of well-being. And it's very important to understand when I say well-being, I don't just mean psychological and emotional. I mean physical, because the states of disease that people experience are a function of constantly being out of balance. Because when you're constantly out of balance, you're putting stress on the body. You know, most people are out of balance in the direction of the sympathetic nervous system, meaning that they're in a state of tension, they're in a state of concern, you know. It's very important for you to stop and take note that even when nothing's going on, right? Even when nothing's going on that's going to cause you to be upset, right? If you really look, you'll notice you're concerned. You might not even know what you're concerned about, but you're concerned. Because people are so used to being in a state of concern that they don't notice it. They just think it's normal. And if you want to notice how close you are to being upset, how much does it take to upset you? That's how close you are to being upset, you know? All somebody has to do is say something that's a little wrong, that doesn't fit your ideas about how things should be, and you go off. You know, you go off. You go off because you have an unconscious commitment to trying to get this world to wake up and realize that it's wrong. Isn't it true? You have an unconscious commitment. You have an unconscious commitment that you don't even know you have, right? To consistently demonstrate that the world is wrong. How do I know that? Because whenever you get upset, isn't it because the world is wrong? And when I say the world, I mean other people in your life, you know, the weather, the politics, your finances, right? Your body.